The research station orbiting Kepler 442 hummed with its usual mechanical rhythm when the alert chimed through Alex's quarters. He blinked awake, the bioluminescent strips along the ceiling casting their sterile blue glow across his cramped room. 3 years into his xenolinguistics assignment, and unexpected visitors were still rare enough to spike his pulse. "Dr. Reeves, you have a priority communication request," the station AI announced. "Origin, Surface Settlement, Sector 7. Alex sat up, rubbing sleep from his eyes. Visual. The holographic display flickered to life, and Alex found himself staring at a face that was simultaneously familiar and utterly alien. The woman, if that term even applied, had the basic configuration of humanoid features, but her skin shimmered with an iridescent quality that shifted between deep purple and midnight blue. Her eyes were larger than human proportions allowed, multifaceted like cut gems, and they held an expression he'd learned to recognize over countless hours of cultural exchange. Desperation. "Dr. Reeves," she said, her voice transmitted through the translator matrix that had taken humanity decades to perfect. "My name is Lisa. I came here because my daughter wants to see you." Alex leaned forward. In 3 years, he'd never heard one of the K threshold, the indigenous species of Kepler 442b, use the word daughter in that particular context. Their family structures were complex, their kinship terminology deliberately vague when speaking to humans. For Lisa to be so direct meant something had changed. "I'm listening," Alex said carefully. Lisa's facial chromatophores rippled with what the cultural database identified as anxiety. "My daughter, Sira, is dying. Your medicine cannot help her. Our medicine cannot help her. But she has a request. She wants to meet the human who speaks our language without fear." Without fear. Alex had heard whispers of this phrase in the settlement. The K threshold had a concept they called Velshara, something like true communication or speaking with complete self. Most humans couldn't achieve it. The cultural gulf was too wide, the fear of misunderstanding too great. But Alex had always approached language as a bridge, not a fortress. "When?" he asked. "Now if you can, she may not have long." The shuttle descent took 40 minutes. Alex used the time to review everything he knew about K-threshold death rituals, medical practices, and family dynamics. The data was frustratingly incomplete. Despite 3 years of contact, the K-threshold remained guarded about their most intimate customs. Lisa met him at the landing pad, her form wrapped in what looked like living fabric that pulsed with bioluminescent patterns. Up close, Alex could see the fine network of neural pathways that ran just beneath her translucent skin, glowing softly with bioelectric current. "Thank you for coming," Lisa said, and this time Alex heard the raw emotion beneath the translated words. The K-threshold language operated on multiple frequencies. The translator could only capture the semantic layer, not the harmonic subtext that conveyed feeling. But he'd learned to listen for the overtones. "Tell me about Sira," Alex said as they walked through the settlement. The architecture was unlike anything in human design, organic curves that seemed grown rather than built, structures that breathed and shifted with some internal rhythm. "She is 12 cycles old. In your years, perhaps 15. She became ill 3 months ago. A neural degradation disease. We have no cure. You have no cure." Lisa's chromatophores flickered rapidly, grief, Alex thought, or perhaps resignation. "But Sira has always been curious about humans. She learned your language from the educational broadcasts. She watches your documentaries about Earth, and she has questions." "What kind of questions?" "About death, about meaning, about why you search for life on other worlds when your own world dies." Lisa stopped walking and turned to face him. "Dr. Reeves, my people believe that the last questions asked before death echo into the next existence. Sira wants her questions to be answered by someone who understands both worlds." The weight of that responsibility settled over Alex like a physical thing. He was being asked to participate in something sacred, something that transcended mere cultural exchange. "I'll do my best," he said. Sira's room was dimly lit, the walls pulsing with soft amber light. She lay on a platform that molded itself to her form, her small body connected to what Alex recognized as life support, though the K-threshold version looked more like a symbiotic organism than a machine. Her eyes, even larger than her mother's, tracked Alex as he entered. Despite her illness, they sparkled with sharp intelligence. "Dr. Reeves," Sira said, her voice weak but clear. She spoke in English, not through the translator. "You came." Alex knelt beside her platform, bringing himself to her eye level. "Your mother said you had questions. I'm honored that you wanted to ask them of me." Sira's chromatophores barely moved. Her energy was too depleted, but a faint ripple of what might have been amusement crossed her features. "Mother says you speak Velshara, that you see us as people, not specimens." "I try," Alex said, "though I know I often fail." "Failing with intention is better than succeeding through ignorance," Sira replied. It sounded like a K-threshold proverb. "My question is this: why do humans fear death so much that you spend your whole lives running from it?" Alex took a slow breath. Not the question he'd expected, but perhaps the most important one. We fear death because we love life, and we love life because we know it ends. That knowledge makes everything precious. But you search for immortality. You extend your lives with technology. You freeze your bodies hoping future science will revive you. "Some of us do," Alex acknowledged, "but not all, and even those who do aren't necessarily running from death. They're running toward more life, more time to learn, to love, to discover." Sira's eyes dimmed slightly, then brightened again. "On my world, death is transformation. We believe consciousness returns to the Velmora, the great thought stream, that our experiences enrich the universe's collective understanding." "That's a beautiful belief," Alex said. "But is it true?" Sira's voice cracked. "Or is it just a story we tell ourselves because we fear the nothingness?" And there it was, the real question, not about humans at all, about herself, about what waited on the other side of her fading neural patterns. Alex felt Lisa's presence behind him, silent but attentive. He chose his words carefully. "I don't know," he said, "and I respect you too much to lie. I can tell you what humans believe, thousands of different answers. I can tell you what science suggests about consciousness and information theory. But the honest answer, I don't know. No one who's still alive does." Sira's chromatophores rippled. Was that disappointment? "But," Alex continued, "I can tell you what I think gives meaning to death. It's not what comes after, it's what we do before. Every question you've asked, every documentary you've watched, every moment you spent curious about another world, that's immortality, Sira. Not because you'll personally persist, but because you've changed the universe. You've changed me. This conversation will ripple outward. Your mother will remember it. I'll remember it. I'll tell others. The questions you've asked will echo long after your neural patterns have transformed into something else." A long silence filled the room. Then Sira spoke again, softer. "Tell me about Earth, about the ocean. I've seen pictures, but I want to hear it from someone who's felt it." So Alex told her. He spoke of standing on a California beach at sunset, the Pacific stretching infinite before him. The salt smell, the rhythmic thunder of waves, the way the water could be terrifying and comforting simultaneously. He told her about coral reefs and whale songs and bioluminescent plankton that turned the surf into liquid starlight. Sira's eyes never left his face. As he spoke, her chromatophores began to pulse in rhythm with his words, synchronizing with his breathing. Lisa made a small sound, surprise, perhaps, or recognition. "You're speaking Velshara," Sira whispered. "I can feel it, not just the words, the truth beneath them." Alex felt it too, some ineffable connection, a resonance between their completely different forms of consciousness. For just a moment, the vast evolutionary gulf between them disappeared. Sierra's eyes began to dim. "Thank you," she said, "for not lying, for not making death smaller than it is, for making life larger." "Thank you," Alex replied, "for asking questions that matter." He stayed with her as her neural pathways slowly ceased their firing, as her chromatophores faded to a soft, steady blue that Lisa explained was the K-threshold color of peace. He stayed until her consciousness made whatever transformation waited, until the room fell silent except for the soft breathing of a mother mourning her daughter. Outside, the twin moons of Kepler 442b rose over the settlement. Lisa stood beside Alex, their two forms alien to each other yet united in grief. "She reached Velmora," Lisa said quietly. "I felt it at the end, that connection between you. That's what we believe carries consciousness forward, not the individual mind but the bridges we build between minds." Alex nodded, unable to trust his voice. "Will you remember her?" Lisa asked. "Always," Alex said, and he meant it. As he walked back to the shuttle, Alex understood something he'd only intellectually grasped before. First contact wasn't about technology or politics or even language. It was about moments like this, sitting with a dying child of another species and recognizing, despite everything, the universal shape of consciousness confronting its own ending. Sierra's questions would echo. In his reports, in his conversations, in the way he approached every future interaction with the K-threshold. She had changed the universe, just as he'd promised her. Her curiosity had built a bridge that transcended biology, culture, and the boundaries of life itself. That night, Alex filed his report. But before he did, he wrote a personal log entry. "Today I learned that Velshara, true communication, isn't about perfect understanding. It's about perfect honesty. And sometimes the most profound communication happens not between species who are alike, but between those brave enough to see each other clearly across an infinite distance." Above him, the stars wheeled in their eternal dance, indifferent to the small dramas of mortality playing out on countless worlds. But Alex thought Sierra would have liked that, the vastness of it all, the way meaning emerged not despite the universe's scale but because of it. Human consciousness, K-threshold consciousness, different frequencies of the same fundamental mystery. And in the space between them, understanding bloomed.